welcome to the next edition of the Brand Central Podcast, where we have lively discussions about building and elevating your brand. Joining us today is a very special guest. Dr. Alvin Perry is here with us from P5 Designs, and he's talking about adjusting and adapting because of the current situation that's happening globally when it comes to PPE, personal protection equipment. Dr. Perry, what a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, I'm just elated to be here. It's taken us a while to make this happen. We've been talking about this for months, but I guess the coronavirus has actually put us in a situation where we really need to have this conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about P5 Designs first. I know you were heavily into the fashion industry, had been doing it for a while, been very successful at it. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to adapt and help the folks who need it most and who are on the front lines of what's happening here with this global epidemic.
Well, the key word is pivot. We pivot all of our lives, whether we pivot in our relationships, we pivot in our jobs, whether we pivot in and out of businesses. So when the coronavirus hit, I had been in my P5 Designs fashion brand. We've been in business since March of 2015. And as the coronavirus hit, nobody was thinking about fashion. And as I was sitting here in my office thinking that my business was now over in terms of fashion, as of right now, this second, my manufacturers in China reached out to me because they had made a pivot from fashion to the PPE products, and they asked me, was I interested in PPE products? Because at the end of the day, what's going on is a bunch of distrust. There's Americans that do not trust Chinese. There are Chinese that do not trust Americans, and it just so happened that I've been in a relationship with these people for almost 5 years. So I basically took and unplugged fashion and just plugged in PPE products. I was able to flip my entire business in 7 days.
Wow, that is amazing. And I know you work in a mentorship capacity with other entrepreneurs down at the Urban League. And of course, you teach, you're on the faculty at a couple of different institutions. So tell me a little bit about how some of your academia enabled you to pivot so quickly.
Well, I think, what academia does is just really helps you increase your critical thinking and problem solving. When you're writing papers and researching and trying to figure stuff out, it just teaches you to think deeper, think critically, peel the onion back, just keep peeling the onion back, keep peeling the onion back. So I think that's the piece that the academia piece, that's what it brings to me.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about this. Obviously, supply and the demand is there. Now you've got access to the supply. How do you get it to the people who need it most? Because that's been the issue. The people who need it most say they can't get it. They've been getting outbid. Contracts have been getting canceled, leaving our medical professionals in a lurch. So how are you going to make that that happen? That logistical nightmare, as we've heard so far. How are you going to be able to pull it off?
Well, I want you to think about this from this standpoint. There's 330 million Americans, right? So we're just I don't know, I'm gonna have to research this. I'm just gonna say 30 million are the medical professionals. I don't know if that's the accurate number or not. I'm just trying to make a point. So that leaves 300 million Americans. The 3Ms of the world and these big manufacturing companies are making masks and PPE products, millions and millions and millions, and they're still millions and millions and millions short. So companies are having to pivot. There are beer companies that are now making hand sanitizer. GM is now making ventilators. So P5 Designs, which is the fashion brand, is now into the PPE products. Where I'm focusing my business is on the 300 million Americans who do not have access to PPE products. No one is talking about me and you walking out of our house and we need masks, we need gloves, we need sanitizers. Right, but there's no one really talking about that, and I noticed that was a gap very early as I was researching and figuring out how do I move forward with this business.
Now, is it sustainable? Do you think that after we develop a vaccine, or after this pandemic tends to wane, that there will still be a need for PPE enough to sustain you to profit levels that you're happy with and comfortable with?
Well, I believe so, because our whole dynamics, our whole way of life has changed, and how we interact with people. I think that it's going to be challenging to get people to want to go into enclosed arenas or events like the movies. It's going to be challenging for a minute to get people to want to go sit in a movie. So I really think the drive-in theater may pop back up. But in terms of sustainability, there are 300 million Americans, and we're going to say 330 because every American citizen, baby to whatever, they need masks and hand sanitizer, gloves, all that kind of stuff. I don't see that going away. It may not be as critical as it is right now because people can't get it, but you still want to have a 90-day supply of gloves, of masks, of sanitizer as just a American citizen, just as a human. As a matter of fact, I don't care what country you live in. Right now, you're looking to have at least a 90-day supply of PPE material, PPE products.
Right. Well, anybody interacting with other folks is going to need it. I mean, that's going to be the new normal, for the foreseeable future. And, you're right. I have a son that plays professional hockey. So, I'm really concerned about the ability to get people into an arena. So there are so many things so many moving parts. And I see your point that people are going to want to be prepared. To be able to deal with the new normal and at least feel comfortable. At least if you have the PPE protection, you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable.
What I spend most of my time the last 2 weeks is educating people. I have people hit me up and say, hey, Brother Perry, I want to get 2 masks from you. I said, brother, what are you going to do with 2 masks? I said, let me explain something to you. When you go into room A and you got to think that someone in that room is contaminated. You go to room B and nobody's in room B is contaminated. You just took the contamination from room A to room B. When you go to Walmart and get your provisions or wherever you're going to get your provisions, your milk, bread, butter, and all eggs, whatever, you have your mask, your gloves, and all that on. When you come home, before you enter your house, you need to have a trash can that's considered your hazmat trash can where you're taking your gloves and your mask and all that, and you're dumping that in the trash can because you got to think, I came in contact with somebody and I need to get rid of that stuff before I even go in my house. But we haven't gotten there yet as a people. And I don't mean just Black people. I mean, as US citizens, we haven't gotten there yet to understand how serious this the coronavirus is and how we just take for granted the things that we touch. Just the things that we touch. We just take for granted the things that we touch without even thinking about it. But that whole dynamic has changed. Just think right now, if you're somebody single and you have not met anybody and you're quarantined, in a stay-at-home situation, how do you meet somebody new, right? Okay, we're gonna date on social media. We like each other. We talking on social media. We start texting. We exchange numbers. Okay, we start talking on the phone, and then there's the inevitable. We have to meet, but right now we're social distancing. How do you meet somebody new? I mean, it's a lot of stuff that's like low-hanging fruit that we just haven't even really thought about yet.
Right. And it's interesting you bring up the whole social dynamic because people are so uncomfortable with it. You can just see it. I mean, the Wisconsin situation with the voting lines, you could see people were outside, they had the distance between them, but they were very uncomfortable. I mean, as a people, we're built and conditioned for that interaction, for that contact. I mean, that's why you see the suicide hotlines are lighting up, the domestic violence issues, police reports around the country are on the rise, which is really unfortunate. And it's just become incredibly difficult. And I think it's because of the unknown. I mean, I could be wrong there, but we don't know how long this thing is going to last. So, but let's talk a little bit about branding this thing and your initiatives. How are you going to continue to educate people to let them know, sir, you're going to need more than 2 masks?
I spend every day on social media putting out posts. When I get stuff, CNN, the New York Times, New York Post, and they're putting stuff out, I'm screenshotting that and then I'm posting that out on social media, telling people to educate yourselves. Right now, there's a rush for these designer masks, right? These designer masks are going to kill you because they have no value in terms of keeping the virus away from you, right? I put a post out for the different levels of masks, and the designer cotton masks have 0 protection against the virus. You look good, but there's no protection. Now, if you have a face shield over your designer mask, you're good because your face shield will keep stuff off of the mask, then you're going to reuse it. But if you don't have a face shield on, you're out at Walmart somewhere, you got to think that I've come in contact with a virus. Now, you're going to be taking that mask off, trying to handle it and deal with it and trying to wash it. You're contaminating yourself. So all these designer masks, although they look great, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a face shield on top of that mask, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I noticed at the pharmacy the other day. I stopped by the pharmacy at Kroger, and they had a big plastic plexiglass across from the register, so you can't even breathe on the folks in the pharmacy.
Post office,
critical.
same way.
Post office, same thing. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dr. Perry, we certainly appreciate your presence this evening and educating us and helping us figure out what the new normal is going to look like. Tell folks out there in the audience how they can find you.
Listen, they can just go to the website, PV, that's P as in Paul, V as in Victor, pvmedicalsolutions.com. If you're looking to purchase product for yourself and your family, or you're looking to get into the PPE business, hit me up on my website, go to the contact us, because at the end of the day, the way my pricing structure is, I'm keeping my prices low because I want everything to be affordable, and because there are many people out here who are not going to have jobs to go back to, that right now you need to figure out how can I make some money. You can actually buy my products and you can resell in your community, because what I thought about as I was building this business, I was getting ready to get a warehouse. I was getting ready to put some people to work, fulfilling orders. And I thought about it. Man, there's 330 million people in the United States that do not have access to PPE. There's no way I could service. If I put a website up targeting that, it would crash. Yeah. So I designed this so that you can go to my website, purchase product, because it's the cost structure is so low that you can actually resell that product in the community and what you're in. I want you to think about this stuff. Every customer-facing business in the United States is going to be required to have masks and gloves on when they're dealing with customers. Whether it's insurance agency, your convenience store, your banks, your food place. I want you to think about any place that's engaged, the Walmarts, the Home Depots, any place that's engaged with customer interaction, they're going to be required to wear those masks and gloves and all that kind of stuff. Where are you going to get it from? Because right now, 3M and all those big companies, everything they make is geared toward the healthcare community, which rightfully so. That should be the number one thing. But what about me and you? What I am addressing is the me and yous of the world who want to walk. We got to go get food. Right. We have to go out and do something, right? So what company is providing us, and when I say us, I mean American citizens who are not healthcare, providing us with products that allow us to be safe when we go out. And right now, it's pvmedicalsolutions.com.
All right, Dr. Alvin Perry, what a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. And please keep us updated on the business venture, how it goes, and the success you're having. We'd love to do an update for you and check in with you, see how things are going.
Hey, well, thank you for having me.